Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Talisha and I'm also known as CreativiTeeByT, and I love sewing garments that are stylish, practical, and wearable, and I also love to make crafts. In today's video, I am sharing how I made 14 garments in just 10 days. Yes, you heard that right. And no, I didn't pull like all-nighters to do any dramatic type of changes to my regular schedule. If you have been around for some time, you may remember last year when I made my vacation wardrobe, and that was in July, and that is when I actually made 14 garments in 10 days. Since I posted that video, I have had requests to share the process or the steps that I took to make everything, and so today I'm actually going to walk you through that full process, from pattern choices and batch techniques and fabric selection, time management, you know, mom, wife life hacks that helped me pull this off while, you know, still keeping the household running. And if you are planning on a vacation, or if you just want to make a quick and easy wardrobe, you can use this same process because it works. So go ahead and grab your tea, let's chat, and at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you a surprise that I have for you for free that will help you in addition to this information. So let's go ahead and start with my plan. Now, before I even touched the scissors or the rotary cutter, anything, I started with a solid plan. I made a list of what I wanted to make and what I wanted in my vacation wardrobe, like things that I would actually wear to the fullest. That meant pieces that were like comfortable, flattering, and versatile, pieces that I will wear again outside of vacation. So when the vacation was said and done, I'm still going to pick those garments up. And I narrowed it down to styles that I like, of course, and things that I could sew quickly, and that was key for me. So I picked elevated t-shirts, and I made 2 of those, a wide leg pant, a midi length dress that I made for my elegant night, a lightweight duster that also served as like a swimsuit cover-up, a kimono, 2 cardigans, shorts, sundresses that were the 2 with the sheared top, and 2 bathing suit cover-ups. Okay, so I didn't do anything or try anything that was too complex. It just wasn't the time for that level of detail. I just focused on efficiency and the impact that it would bring to that wardrobe, the vacation wardrobe. So I asked myself, can these pieces be mixed and matched? Could I wear this top with 2 or 3 bottoms? Could I dress? Oh, and I also forgot to mention that I made a pencil skirt. So again, I asked myself, could these pieces be mixed and matched? You know, could I wear them with one of the tops, or many of the tops, or with 3 bottoms or 2 bottoms? You know, could I dress this up or down? I wanted these options to help maximize the use of the pieces. So for pick and easy patterns, I specifically chose patterns that had very few pattern pieces. We're talking like the front, back, sleeves, that's it. Pockets for pants. So no linings, no zippers, no darts unless there were just a couple. The more simple the pattern, the better. And I will say that the midi dress that I picked was a little bit more work than I thought because of the binding pieces, but if I had used like the sleeve, it wouldn't have been that much work, but it was still okay, and it was the only piece like that. So with that, here's the trick: use the same pattern multiple times, and or use patterns that you've already made. I made 2 tops and 2 cardigans out of the same pattern, but I switched up the fabric. I made 2 pair of pants from the same pattern and switched up the fabric. So I had a fancy big print and I had a mesh textured fabric. And then, you know, they just suddenly looked different. They didn't even look like the same pattern. So for me, that was a huge time saver because you are not constantly reading new instructions. You already know the sewing order. You know what parts are tricky and what's not, and if they were tricky, you figured it out. And hopefully the fit, you figured the fit. So let's talk about glam through fabric. Okay, I kind of touched on this, but I lean towards more interesting fabrics, like things that made a simple pattern look expensive because the garments were simple. So when doing that, I thought bold prints or colors like my dress, it was like bright orange, or textured fabrics like my mesh fabrics, or you can use satins and linen blends and, you know, nice fabrics. Okay, so again, the right fabric makes your piece look 10 times more expensive, even if the construction was super easy. And I personally feel like I'm a living testimony of that. So then the other thing I did was accessorize. I added wide belts. I added statement earrings or like a layered necklace, and then you instantly elevate the look even more without having to sew complicated garments. So just remember, simple pattern plus beautiful fabric and accessories equals fashion magic. Okay, so that's if you're trying to be fashionable, and for me, that's the thing. Okay, so let's talk about batch cutting. And I had a batch cutting strategy. One of the biggest time savers for me was batch cutting. I set aside 2 days just for cutting. I laid everything out and all my fabrics and patterns, and I pretty much cut everything back to back. I kept everything labeled and organized in my project bags, and I stacked them in like a laundry basket off to the side so that, you know, they weren't like strolled everywhere. I even like cut my notches, and I transferred my markings so that I didn't have to do that later. I could just pick up my batches, my garment bag, and just go, you know. But I will say that that was the worst part of it all, because, like, you know, we just want the fabric pinned together and sewn. At least I do. And so yeah, that part was a tedious part, but it saved so much time. It was essential because once you sit down to sew, you don't want to stop and have to cut every few hours. You want to flow, right? And when you flow, you keep moving forward, and that was the rewarding part of the batch cutting. So let's talk about prepping my sewing space, which I feel like that was another necessary part. I prepped my sewing space like a little mini factory. I wound multiple bobbins and like the thread colors that I was going to be using. I made sure that I had fresh needles in my serger and in my sewing machine. I made sure that my sewing tools were within reach, because sometimes that stuff is like strolled around. And just everything was neat and tidy and ready to go so that my mind wouldn't be cluttered. And although it didn't stay that way, I started off that way so I didn't have like a double mess. I even made like scheduled days for my projects. So like on Monday might be top sewing day, or Tuesday might have been for the pants, and so on and so forth. And like for the one pattern that I made the cardigan and the elevated tee out of, the one shoulder elevated tee, I made those patterns the same day because I just figured I knew it. They were super easy to make, and so that's kind of like how I organized that. That also helped for me to not, you know, just be hopping all over the place. I was focused, and I would review the pattern instructions on my lunch at work if I worked that day, if I had not made that pattern before. And so yeah, those are my strategies. So let's talk about garments that mix and match in a bit more detail than what I talked about earlier. So I was not just sewing like 14 random things with no thought. I was building my mini vacation wardrobe collection. I had tops that could be matched with the pants. The dresses could be layered under or over other pieces. I used like a color palette that could mostly be tied together. There was maybe, I don't know, and for the most part they could be tied together. Maybe not everything with all pieces, but for the most part everything could be tied together. So yeah, the goal was like outfit maximizing. So I wanted to get as much mileage out of my outfits that I could. Just not more clothes, but more combinations, if that makes sense. So when you plan with versatility in mind, even a few garments can feel like a full wardrobe, and that's what I got. So now let's go into managing life and your time. Of course, life doesn't just stop because you're sewing. So I made sure that I prepped like slow cooker meals or crock pot meals. I would toss everything in the morning before I went to work, and then boom, dinner was done. And all I had to do was like plate it up for the children and my husband for the days that he was at home. It also helps if you could take a day or two off work, or block off a weekend, or when you do take a day or two off at work, you add that to your weekend or your time off. Even working from home helps if you have that option, because you could prep or sew during your lunches and your breaks, and also maybe even tell your family that you're in sewing mode and shut your door, leave you alone. And you know, maybe you can lay back on some of the chores, like not doing the laundry, because you know it's worth it in the end when you get finished. And for me, in addition to all that, I picked a time when my husband was traveling, and that's why I said when my husband was home. My husband was traveling for work, and because I knew he wouldn't be there, I could just go at it, and I could spread all my sewing stuff all over the place. And that's what I did. And he doesn't like that when I have stuff in different spots, and I get it, but for me it was easier to be able to spread out. And so I had like my 6-foot sewing table in the dining room, and I had that spread out and cut. Then I bring things in my sewing room, and then I would kind of cut things out everywhere. It sounds chaotic, but it helped for me to get it done the way I did. So here are my final thoughts and my words to you about my takeaways. You don't need fancy equipment or tons of free time, although it does help. What helps is to make a solid plan, strategic pattern choices, good fabric, batch work, and to carve out the time. Now, I said you don't need a whole lot of time. You don't, but you need to carve out time for yourself to make it happen, because easy patterns can be sewn up quickly. I also learned that momentum is everything. Once I got into the rhythm of everything, it just actually felt so super fun and rewarding. I felt like I was on a roll, and I would send pictures to my sewing bestie and to my mom for extra motivation, and finishing each piece just kind of gave me even more motivation to start the next. And I was sharing each piece one by one with my sewing bestie and my mom, and you know, it was a fun process, I will say. So yeah, that's how I made 14 garments in 10 days. And I hope this gave you some idea and inspiration for your next sewing sprint, marathon, project, when you name it. So be on the lookout, because I am planning to do this again, and I'm still in the planning mode. So I will share when I do have everything narrowed down, and that will be narrowed down soon, because I got to get started, because I'm on a time crunch. Okay, If you have not watched the video where I made the 14 garments in 10 days, I will make sure that I link that below. And also linked below is a free gift to you. And I have created a form where it lays out how you can plan out making your garments in 10 days the way I did. So it's all just categorized, like the different fabrics that you may use, the patterns that you may use, the time frame, all those things. So make sure you click below if you're a type of person that likes to plan and you like to plan on paper. This would be perfect for you. Okay, if you like this video, you know what I'm getting ready to say. Please take a pause for the call and click the like button and hit that subscribe button if you enjoy sewing, fashion, and crafting content, and drop a comment below telling me your biggest sewing project and your favorite time savings hack, all the things. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, watching the video, and all those things. Thank you to all of my new and returning subscribers for your support, and go ahead and make something amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.